I think what we have left is one more reader. If Mariko Kershaw, is there anybody that I missed that was supposed to be on the list that brought a book that they're aching to read to us? Someone I missed, supposed to be on the list. The good Dr. Seuss. Nope. Okay, then we have one final reader, and it's Mariko Kershaw, and she's reading from Catch-22. Do you have the reason why it's been banned?
Let me just refresh really quick. Okay.
That was just one little reason.
Yeah. Take it away. Hi guys. So, like Jenny said, my name is Mariko, and I'll be reading from Catch-22. One of the reasons why it was banned was for indecent language. And one incident was back in Ohio in 1972, and then the ban was lifted in 1976. Just to briefly tell you what this book is about, it takes place in the second half of World War II, and it follows this air squadron that is stationed in a small island in Italy. And the superiors keep finding more missions for them to do so that they can't ever get released. And so the main character, Captain Usarian, he's trying to scheme and find ways to get out of the war. So the scene I'll be reading from, he's talking to the doctor and he's trying to figure out like some kind of loophole where he can get medical leave and get discharged. And the passage I'll be reading is the first mention of Catch-22, which is where we get that common phrase from. "You're wasting your time," Doc Danica was forced to tell him. "Can't you ground someone who's crazy?" "Oh, sure, I have to. There's a rule saying I have to ground anyone who's crazy." "Then why don't you ground me? I'm crazy. Ask Clevenger." "Clevenger? Where is Clevenger?" "You find Clevenger and I'll ask him." "Then ask any of the others. They'll tell you how crazy I am." "They're crazy." "Then why don't you ground them?" "Why don't they ask me to ground them?" "Because they're crazy, that's why." "Of course they're crazy," Doc Danica replied. "I just told you they're crazy, didn't I? And you can't let crazy people decide whether you're crazy or not, can you?" Usarian looked at him soberly and tried another approach. "Is Orr crazy?" "He sure is," Doc Danica said. "Can you ground him?" "I sure can, but first he has to ask me. That's part of the rule." "Then why doesn't he ask you to?" "Because he's crazy," Doc Danica said. "He has to be crazy to keep flying combat missions after all the close calls he's had. Sure, I can ground Orr, but first he has to ask me to." "That's all he has to do to be grounded?" "That's all. Let him ask me." "Then you can ground him," Usarian asked. "No, then I can't ground him." "You mean there's a catch?" "Sure, there's a catch," Doc Danica replied. "Catch-22. Anyone who wants to get out of combat duty isn't really crazy." There was only one catch, and that was Catch-22, which specified that a concern for one's own safety in the face of dangers that were real and immediate was the process of a rational mind. Orr was crazy and could be grounded. All he had to do was ask. And as soon as he did, he would no longer be crazy and would have to fly more missions. Or would be crazy to fly more missions and sane if he didn't. But if he was sane, he had to fly them. If he flew them and he was crazy and didn't have to. But if he didn't want to, he was sane and he had to. Usarian was moved very deeply by the absolute simplicity of this clause of Catch-22 and let out a respectful whistle. "That's some catch, that Catch-22, he observed. "It's the best there is," Doc Danica agreed.